Hi folks, in this Ramble with Robin and Ruby video, we continue our travels with our two grandsons, Adrien and Brayden. We leave the Liard River Hot Springs Provincial Park located in British Columbia, see the official Mile Zero of the ALCAN Highway located in downtown Dawson Creek, British Columbia, spend a day at the West Edmonton Mall amusement park, and end up at Edson, Alberta, just outside Jasper National Park. Join us as we continue our trip with our two grandsons back to Ottawa, Ontario, Canada in the summer of 2023. It took us 4 days to drive from the Liard River Hot Springs Provincial Park to Edmonton, Alberta. That said, one of the most beautiful segments of the ALCAN Highway is the lake through the northern Rocky Mountains in British Columbia. In Fort Nelson, we stayed at the Triple G Hideaway. Brayden and I checked out the Fort Nelson Heritage Museum, and there's certainly a lot to see there. That evening, Brayden and Adrien discovered they could swim at the Northern Rockies Regional Aquatic Centre. It's located in the same complex as the Fort Nelson Tourist Information Centre, within walking distance of the campground. It's a fabulous recreational centre. There are the standard array of athletic activities, a great pool area according to our grandsons, plus an art display. It was a great way to end a long day of driving. Well, it's August the 1st and it's Tuesday, and we are solidly in British Columbia. And so we're going to do the updating of the map, and Adrien's going to draw the route we did today. We're using a slightly different map, but nevertheless, it will trace out where we went. So, Adrien.
Yes. Okay, so we started today at Liard River Hot Springs. Then we went and checked out the lake at Muncho Lake. Then we went to Toad River. Then we went to Summit Lake to have a rest. Then we went from Summit Lake through all the turns to Fort Nelson, and that's where we are now.
Adrien's highs and lows for today are?
So my high is probably the black bear that I saw running as the storm was catching up with us. And the low, I don't think I really have a low. The campground's really nice, and there's no mosquitoes. It's a good temperature.
Just highs and lows.
I think my highlight today is going to be seeing the caribou. It's very rare going to Grandad to see woodland caribou around here. And I think my low light will be how cold it was, because it was extremely cold today.
It was. We were down to plus 10 at Summit Lake where we had our lunch. And I think it was about, plus 16 or 17 in Fort Nelson. It was a very wet start when we left Fort Nelson and headed to Dawson Creek. We made a rest stop at Sasquatch Crossing, where we bought some banana bread and met with the local Sasquatch, who, it turns out, is much friendlier than most stories suggest. We have passed through Dawson Creek several times in the past, and we stay at the Mile Zero campground. It is conveniently located on the ALCAN Highway at the west end of town. There is a lot to do in Dawson Creek. I have a previous video depicting some of the interesting things to do while visiting. Its description is listed in the description of this video. That previous video is Season 19, Episode 11, Dawson Creek, start of the Alaska Highway and on to Fort Nelson. The Mile Zero campground has an added benefit of having a pioneer village on the grounds that you can visit. It is delightful and well worth the visit. The distinctive Tourist Information Centre, which is an old red-colored grain elevator, also houses a lovely gift shop and art gallery. In the Tourist Information parking lot, there's a large sign that points downtown. This is one of the very frequently photographed signs that is cited as mile 0 of the ALCAN Highway. This is the site where so many YouTube videos are composed saying this is mile 0 of the Alaska Highway, and it is not. The arrow, as you can plainly see, points downtown towards the real mile 0 of the Alaska Highway. Brayden and Adrien are going to get themselves underneath the mile 0. The fake sign, the arrow is pointing to the downtown where the real mile 0 of Alaska Highway is. But to see the real mile 0 start of the ALCAN Highway, you have to visit the downtown. While downtown, take a few minutes to visit the many wall murals that depict the history of Dawson Creek. Once again, that evening, our grandsons tracked down the local swimming pool, and they spent some quality time relaxing and having fun in the pool at the Borek Aquatic Centre. On the humorous side, I think this is the only public pool where I have seen posted the number of poop-free pool days. That is one of the oddest performance measures I have seen, but it is reassuring. All right, it's Wednesday, August the 2nd. It was a very long driving day. So Brayden is going to do the drawing of the map, and then we will do our highs and lows of the day.
So this morning, very early this morning, we left Fort Nelson, went all the way down 97 Alaska Highway, straight down, and we stop at Bucking Horse River. Bucking Horse River. We met a dog named Bailey over there, very cute dog. Then we went all the way down to the small town of Wanawan, and I realized it's named Wanawan because of 101. It's mile 101 of the Alaska Highway. And we got lunch there, and then we went all the way down through Fort St. John, and now we are here in Dawson Creek. I think the highlight of today was seeing the bear, and I think the low light was all the rain.
My highlight was probably the pool because it was the nicest pool I've ever seen. And there was a giant water slide, and it was heated, and there was a hot tub and a steam room and a sauna, and there was like a whole water park on the inside, but like a small one, but like it was like a splash pad too, and it was heated. The whole thing was heated, and there was like a belly flop competition, and it was really funny. And the low light is probably the rain.
So that was the best pool ever.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady at the front desk was very happy to hear that. We've arrived in Dawson Creek, and I can safely say that last night when we were in Fort Nelson, and absolutely tonight in Dawson Creek, the return of darkness in the evening is really apparent. Up until last night, while we were mostly in Yukon, it was not dark at night. So it's a little bit unusual to actually see the night sky. So it's kind of a neat readjustment, I guess, that your brain has to go through as it begins to accept that you've left the land of the midnight sun and are coming now south, well south of the Arctic Circle, where the sun sets somewhere between 9 and 9:30 at night. Kind of a neat experience. After another long day of driving, for me at least, we arrived in Whitecourt, Alberta, where we stayed overnight at the Whitecourt Lions Campground. Be sure to visit the Heritage Village, which is located just across the street from the entrance to the campground. So it's Thursday, August 3, and we are in Whitecourt, Alberta. We started this morning in Dawson Creek, right, a long time ago. So we are going to do the drawing of the map and the highlights and lowlights. We'll start first with the highlights. Adrien is going to share his highlights and lowlights for today.
Okay, so my highlight is probably the water slide at the pool, and I don't think I have low light today. The weather was good. There wasn't any rain or anything. It's a good temperature. There's not many bugs. No wind really.
I think my highlight today will be the lazy river, because the water slide was really tiring because you had to walk upstairs, run upstairs every single time you want to go up the water slide. So the lazy river was nice. It was calm and relaxing. I think the low light will be the mosquitoes.
Okay, so today we went from Dawson City all the way to Valley View to have lunch. Then we went from Valley View to Whitecourt, which is where we are now.
That was a long day. That was
a pretty long day.
But it was a long day. Over
Yep.
400 kilometers.
Over 400 kilometers.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, it's Friday, August 4, and we're at Whitecourt Lions RV Park, or campground, and just sharing some thoughts as we slowly head south and then east back to Ontario. One of the mileposts, I guess, that we were hoping to leave an impression with the boys about the just magnitude of Canada. It's a big country. It's a diverse country from a landscape point of view. It's diverse from people point of view. It's diverse from an economic point of view. But I think the biggest impression that Brayden and Adrien will get, we've only just started our return. It's going to take us a while to get back to Ontario. But each day, on a good day, we might drive something on the order of 350 to maybe 400 plus kilometers. And that's a long day. It's certainly a long day of driving. It's a long day of sitting. But those are the sorts of distances that you have to drive in order to get from one destination to another. And I guess in our head there's a couple of types of destinations. There's destinations that are important to see. One of those examples coming up would be the Athabasca Glacier, which is iconic in its representation and characterization of the impact of climate change. And there are other destinations that are fun to see or to visit. Perhaps an example of that would be the swimming pools that just about every community has, and that the boys enjoy as a part of their downtime in the evening or late afternoon after we arrive at a destination. But nevertheless, it requires a long day of patient sitting and waiting while we drive across Canada. We left Whitecourt on a beautiful sunny morning. Our destination was Glowing Embers RV Park and Travel Centre, located on the west side of Edmonton. The drive to Edmonton was uneventful, except for the increased volume of traffic on Highway 43 heading southeast from Whitecourt and Highway 16 heading east towards Edmonton. We arrived at the campground late in the morning with plenty of time to set up, buy groceries, and just relax. That evening, we walked around the campground. there is a large chessboard, a collection of live birds, and a number of information signs to look at.
Updating the map for the day August the 4th, and Brayden's going to draw the map tonight.
So, on August the 4th, we went from Whitecourt, Alberta. We didn't really stop anywhere, and we went all the way to Edmonton. Actually, we stayed right outside of Spruce Grove, between Spruce Grove and Edmonton, but we're basically in Edmonton. I think the highlight for me today was arriving in Edmonton. I think the low light was not going to the West Edmonton Mall.
I think the highlight for me was probably the break day, and because of that, I don't really think there's a low light.
When we offered to take our grandsons to Yukon, we asked if they had something special they wanted to see or do. Without hesitation, our younger grandson, Adrien, immediately requested a visit to the West Edmonton Mall, not for the shopping experience, but for the amusement park and water park experiences. So, for that reason, we headed to Edmonton to let our grandsons experience the fun part of the West Edmonton Mall.
Brayden, what was the best ride so far?
I think the best ride so far was the spinner thing. That even made me go upside down. So it made me feel like I'm Superman.
Adrien just had something with 400 spicy spices in it, and I think he's now feeling the effect. So what was the best ride this morning, Adrien, if you can speak through all that fire?
Probably the first one that we went on.
The first one that you went on?
No idea what it's called.
Vomit Comet.
Something like that. But it was spinning around, and then drop, and then up, and then down, and spinning around again.
With lots of screaming.
I didn't scream that much, but other people did.
Yeah.
This is the highlights and lowlights for August the 5th, which was the day that we were stationary in Edmonton, sort of. Okay, Adrien.
Okay, so my highlight, pretty obviously, is the mall. I liked Galaxyland far more than the water park, but that was definitely the highlight. And I don't really think there was a low light to the mall. It was a very good mall.
So the mall that Adrien refers to was the world famous West Edmonton Mall.
West Edmonton Mall.
With amusement, water park, and all kinds of other things inside. So that was the highlight.
Lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
I think the highlight of that day for me would be going to West Edmonton Mall as well. But I think the low light would be how bad the water park itself was engineered, how you had to buy tubes and how there's no lines anywhere, which meant you couldn't.
Had to buy or rent?
You had to rent. And by what I mean by no lines anywhere is that the lines that slides would have the same stair to get up, but everyone would just be crowding on the same stairwell. And that was annoying.
The next morning, we left the Glowing Embers RV Park and Travel Centre on the west side of Edmonton and headed west to the town of Edson. That afternoon, we arrived at the Edson RV Park and Campground.
So in Edson, we're at a campground that's just on the outskirts of Edson, Alberta, and we're just at a golf course, or the campground is based on the edge of the golf course. That's where we are tonight. It's a smaller campground, but just to give you a flavor for what the campground actually looks like. I think there's about maybe 50 sites here. Combination of pull through and back in, water and electric. Most have sewer. We're close to the highway, so you can hear traffic in the background. And we're close to railroad tracks because we can hear the diesel engines dieseling away at times during the day. So we'll see what the evening is like. So this is the Edson RV Park and Campground.
In the afternoon, we visited downtown Edson to do our laundry, buy groceries, and look at a few of the many wall murals and park statues.
Now we're going to update the map for August the 6th, because on August the 5th we really didn't drive anywhere substantive. We drove from the campground to the West Edmonton Mall. That was essentially what the day August the 5th was all about. So this is August the 6th, and Adrien's going to update the map for August the 6th.
Okay, so today we went from Edmonton all the way to about in between Carrot Creek and Wildwood, which is where we got A&W. And from there, we went to Edson. It was a pretty short drive, though. And I think the highlight is probably the fire that we're doing right now. And the low light is probably... I don't think I have a low light today either.
I think the highlight for me today was also having a fire, but I think the low light is being next to the highway, which you can see right there.
It is pretty noisy next to the highway.
Oh, there's also a train line,
and a train
a Trans-Canada train line.
So we've got trains.
So that's a wrap for this video. We traveled from the Liard River Hot Springs Provincial Park in northern British Columbia to mile 0 of the ALCAN Highway to the West Edmonton Mall, and ended up in the town of Edson, Alberta, just outside of Jasper National Park. This one was as much about a day in our travel lives as it was about an exciting destination, although the West Edmonton Mall was exciting for Brayden and Adrien. I hope you enjoyed this video and perhaps even learned something. Until the next one, stay well and bye for now.